Spencer Ross with One Step Forward, and I hope your week was good. Discreet or diplomatic. Looked up on Oxford Languages. Discreet, it's an objective. Careful and circumspect to one's speech or actions, especially in order to avoid causing offense or to gain an advantage. As a leader, how do you build credibility? How do you keep credibility? If you're in law enforcement, for example, there is something on that uniform that denotes someone of higher rank or that they've been there and done that. Okay, so you can see something that when you look at them, you can see, okay, he's the chief. Maybe I had an interview with him. But he has credibility based on his uniform. In an office environment where everyone has a suit, how do you know who has credibility? How do you build credibility? Well, let's talk about it. Supreme Court. So the United States, the Supreme Court made a decision on the abortion issue, and I have very, very close friends who are very passionate on one side and very passionate on the other. And they don't think there should be a middle ground. And they are unaccepting of someone who has a middle ground or just wants to ask them what their opinion is. Sometimes there's yelling. Politics. We don't talk about politics or religion at work. I would disagree with that. We don't talk about politics or religion with family. I disagree with that as well. There's a way to do it that you can have a good conversation with someone and maybe see what they're seeing, try to understand them, give your point, and either try to bring them on your side or just see what their opinion is. How many times have you been in a situation where you're talking about something and you realize you've opened a can of worms, or you've hit something that had a beehive in it, and it's bad? I was watching Al Jazeera and they were talking about the Armenian and Azerbaijan conflict. I was like, cool, I don't really understand this. I would like to know more. So I watched this interview, and they had one guy for Armenia, one guy for Azerbaijan, and one was a professor and one was an analyst. In about 5 minutes, they were yelling at each other. And I could tell just by watching it that it's going to take a lot of conversations, some time, and some effort on both parts to come together to solve this issue. Sometimes violence is the issue, is a good response, and sometimes it's not. You're going to have to figure out what that is, because you're the leader of yourself, right? And if you aren't, we've got some work to do. Okay? But it's a political thing that people are dying over. The Supreme Court thing, some people are saying it's political, and some people aren't talking anymore about it. Maybe you need to get off Facebook. Maybe you need to get off Instagram for a while and go back to that person and say, hey, I'm sorry, or not say sorry, and say, let's talk about other things. Let's leave that one for another time, or let's just agree not to talk about it at all. Ethnic tensions anywhere in the world, United States, Africa. My friend went to Israel to do a missions trip, and he was in a place with a lot of Arabs, and they asked him what his opinion of Israel was. And he gave a positive opinion of Israel. He lost all credibility. They hated him. They started yelling at him. They said he sucked. It was bad. He did not expect that. He was discreet. He was diplomatic. But maybe the issue is so sensitive that let's talk about something else. My family's good. How's your family? Something else. Not anything else, right? Because we've got to be careful and circumspect with our speech and or actions. Because we don't want to cause an offense, and we don't necessarily want to gain an advantage, but we want to build that credibility. We want to build that friendship. Or we want to fix that friendship. I have a friend, he's going to a funeral this coming week. Spencer, I need to go to a funeral. Okay, when's the funeral? It's Wednesday. Hey, did you do such and such first? And oh man, that sucks. Or, man, that really sucks. I'm sorry. Who died? Bobby died. Oh, dude, That I'm sorry. That's really cool that you get to go to the funeral because we're not near the area right now. But I'm sorry that you've got to go. Did you get a chance to get this other thing done first? There's a way. That was in a text message conversation. There's a way to do it. You got to think about it. You've got to put some effort in to being discreet or being diplomatic, or he needed to get something done before he went to that funeral. Okay, so I said, that sucks first. I'm basically sorry. I didn't put it that way, but I'm shortening it for this conversation. And then I asked him, did you get this other thing done? He has to do that other thing. But I need to respond to the thing that's hurting him. That sucks. Funerals aren't fun to go to. If they're a happy thing, like my mom died. She went through terrible pain. It was horrible. I still was not happy when she went. It sucked. My mom was gone. Am I responding in a proper way when someone tells me bad news? Am I responding in a proper way when... And it takes some time to get to know someone, right? You are going to make mistakes. You are going to say something and someone is going to be offended because you've never had that conversation with them yet. Maybe it's about, I don't know, the border wall. Maybe it's about people buying homes in Canada. Foreigners buying homes in Canada, and now there's a ban on it. Whatever it is, if you haven't had that conversation or you haven't been exposed to that, you might make that mistake. Don't lose hope. Don't lose heart. Think about it. Grow. Read the room for the next time. If that person's there, that doesn't mean you don't talk to them. That means you just don't talk about that thing around that person because it's sensitive. You don't exclude that person, but sometimes you just don't have that conversation with that person. People will come to you and say you can say whatever you want. That is sometimes true and sometimes not. And sometimes you're going to make the mistake of saying whatever you want, or there is a joke, or it's the first thing that pops in your head, or you believe them as you can say whatever you want, and that turned out to not be true. Learn from it. I don't know what else to say about that. I've been in that situation where people said, you can say whatever you want. I said it. I did not have tact. Tact, again, from Oxnard languages, it's adroitness and sensitivity in dealing with others or with difficult issues. So they used an example. Inspector broke the news to me with tact and consideration. Adroitness, because I had to look up that word. Cleverness or skill. You're not trying to pull something over someone's head. You're just trying to have sensitivity in the issue. That's difficult. I was in a situation where I was next to a group of people and they were talking about politics. And it was a very good, deep, well thought out conversation. And there was about 4 or 5 people having this conversation in a group of about 10. And there were people on both sides. And they turned to me and said, Spencer, what do you think? And I had to tell them, hey, I can't answer that question. There's specific reasons why I can't answer them, and I gave those reasons, but I said I was proud of them for having a good conversation that was measured, where they weren't yelling or cussing at each other. They were having a good, thoughtful, pleasant conversation. And it was nice to listen to, but I could not be involved in that conversation. Maybe sometimes that's your answer. Maybe you read the room and that's what you feel like you should do. If you read the room and someone says you can say whatever you want, think about it. Spencer, you can say whatever you want. Well, maybe that relationship, you're having a strained relationship with whoever's talking to you. Maybe the first thing that pops in your head, slow down and think about, should I say the first thing that pops in my head? Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're having issues at home. It's something that trial and error, and sometimes you're just going to lose. Keep going. Don't give up. I was reading something that caught my eye. The average American has $141,000 in a 401k account How Does Your Balance Compare by Murray Backman from The Motley Fool. And in that story, there was a quote. I don't know if it was an ad or they specifically had it on there, but I want to leave you with this. You can always control the response to your circumstances, even if you can't control your circumstances. From Dr. Condoleezza Rice. And I thought that fit very perfectly with being discreet. You're a leader of yourself. You're responsible for your own actions. If you made a mistake yesterday and you said a joke, maybe go back and apologize. Maybe it's not appropriate to apologize. Maybe it's just appropriate not to talk about it. Maybe you pull that person aside and say, hey, Spencer, you can't say that. Or, hey, just want to let you know, Bobby's mom died, so that's why he got up and left. So normally it'd be okay, but he died. And when you see Bobby, you want to invite him over so he's not excluded from the group, but you want to make sure you don't say a joke like that again. You want to be respectful. You want to be discreet. Because again, you can always control the response to your circumstances. That's words, thoughts, and deeds, even if you can't control your circumstances. Dr. Condoleezza Rice. Have a great week.